Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Marvin Jenkins, and I'm the coordinator for the Women's Business Center for Maryland Capital Enterprises. We're a nonprofit organization, and we assist women entrepreneurs who are either starting a new business or expanding their existing business. We service the Eastern Shore of Maryland, plus Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Anne Arundel County. And we offer a lot of educational programs like the webinar you're on today, plus one-on-one counseling and consulting. We also help with business plans, cash flow projections. So pretty much any small business need, reach out to us and we'll be glad to give you help. I put my information in the chat box. Plus, you'll get a copy of the link to the recording of today's webinar with my email, and I'll include some other information in that email, so you'll have all the information you need. Today's webinar, Sam.Gov Simplified, is going to be presented by Rosalind Davis, who is the president and CEO of Rhoda Business Solutions. And she always does a fantastic job. A lot of detail into how to reach your goals when you're trying to get certified. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Rosalind and let her get started.
All right, Marvin. Thank you very much for that introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm going to move it. There we go. So hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. This is on the System for Award Management, Sam.Gov Simplified. So again, I'm Rosalind Davis. I am the president and CEO of Rhoda Business Solutions, where we specialize in program project management, diversity, equity, and inclusion training, leadership training, also executive coaching and business administrative support. Rhoda is a certified woman, veteran, and minority-owned business. We're located here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. So before I get started into the workshop, I want to thank the Maryland Capital Enterprise Women Business Center Director, Lisa Twilley, and also for Marvin for always hosting this platform so that we can provide this workshop to you. So some of the screenshots that are used throughout this presentation were actually taken from Full Armor Technology. So I want to thank Ms. Portia May for allowing me to use her screenshots to use in this presentation. Now, my disclaimer for today, the screenshots that are used in this presentation, there are actually screenshots from Sam.Gov, but the views and opinions during this webinar are my views, and in no way are the views and opinions of the government or any other entity. So I would highly recommend, if you haven't done so already, to in the top right-hand corner of your Zoom screen or wherever yours might be located, switch to the standard view so you can enhance your visibility of some of the SAM screenshots. So with that, I am going to go off camera so you can focus what's on the slide and not myself. And if any time you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Marvin is monitoring the chat, or you can raise your hand and I will take a pause and answer your questions, or you can feel free to wait to the end, whichever you're comfortable with. So here's today's agenda. We're going to go through the required information documents. We're going to go through how do you actually log on to Sam.Gov. We're going to get into your entity registration. And then there's 4 core areas within SAM. So we're going to talk about each one of them. And then we're going to talk about how do you submit your registration, and then some key takeaways, because there are some key takeaways that I want to make sure that I foot stomp for this workshop. So one thing I want to say that SAM, System for Award Management, is the federal government's online database of vendors that are wishing to do business with the federal government. So this is not the state government. This is at the federal level. So required information and documents. So before registering in Sam.Gov, I highly recommend that you kind of gather these documents that are listed here on the screen. First is your EIN. So if you don't have an EIN, you can get one from irs.gov. It's free. It's quick. You apply and you get your EIN within minutes. But it is an online application and you have to complete it in one session because you can't save and return later. I've posted the link in the chat to irs.gov if you do need to get an EIN. Now, also your taxpayer ID number, that could be your EIN or it could be your social security number, just depending on what type of entity you are. So just keep in mind, you can use one or the other when you register in SAM. But if you're a single member LLC like myself, then the social security number is probably best. Now, also, you don't want to use any virtual or post office boxes within SAM for your main address. They want a physical address. And then for security purposes, your session will expire after 15 minutes of inactivity. So you will need to start your application over. So my recommendation is just kind of be ready to start your registration and don't take a break because it will time out after so many minutes. So your taxpayer identification number, again, you can get this from the IRS. Next, you need to have readily available your state business registration documents. So this will have your company's legal business name. It's also going to have the physical address. You want to make sure that physical address with your state is also the same that you submitted for your IRS EIN. So your physical address and your mailing address, they can be the same or they can be different. But for your physical address in SAM, it must be a physical location and not a virtual or post office. Now, here's a little tidbit of information I'd like to give you. If you have not registered your business, or even if you're in a startup phase and thinking about doing business with the federal government, you might want to Google your business name. You might want to also conduct a domain search on the internet. You want to kind of search your business name in your state's website just to ensure that the name that you choose for your business is not already taken. And another source that you can check is opencorporates.com. And I've put that in the chat. So again, the same as your IRS EIN, can't use your virtual or post office box. And I'm foot stomping that because a lot of people want to say, hey, I have a virtual address where I collect my mail. They will search that and find that, and it will hold up your Sam.gov registration. Another recommendation is I gather all my documents that I'm going to use for my registration, and I kind of save them in a folder on my desktop so that I can quickly access them. So that's just one of my little recommendations. Some other information that you're going to need is your business bank routing and account number as well, because you will need to load that into SAM so the government will know where to send your invoice payments to. And then your offerings. These are the goods and services listed by your North American Industry Classification System codes, or NAICS codes, and your product service codes, or PSCs, that you want to sell to the federal government. Now, if you don't know what your NAICS codes are, I have put that link in the chat for you to search and find out what are your NAICS codes so that you can list those in SAM. And you can list multiple NAICS codes, but also your product service codes. I recommend that you list those as well, and the link is in the chat. And then finally, your point of contact information. At a minimum, you will need the full name, the email address, and phone number. Now, you can be that same point of contact for all of them, or you can list multiple people. One thing caution is that only employees, officers, and board members can be entity administrators in Sam.gov. So you can't list any third-party entities to register you and be your administrator. Marvin, I'm gonna pause right there and see if we have any questions.
So far, no questions.
All right. So starting with just logging on, you do need to have a login.gov account. So in the chat, I have put this link in there. You go to sam.gov/content/home. You would read and accept the terms to advance to the login screen. Now, your screen may look a little different than what you see here on the slides, just depending on the browser that you're using. I'm actually using Internet Explorer. So if this is your first time using login.gov, you will need to create an account. So here you will enter your email address, then follow the prompts to complete a login.gov account. Now, if you're already using login.gov on another website, all you would need to do is enter your email address and password to sign in. So if you already have that login.gov account that you're using elsewhere, use that same one. And if you recall, login.gov is a two-step verification process. So you need to make sure that you have access to the method. So either you said your two-step is email, text, or phone call, just make sure that you have access to that verification method because it will time out after about 10 minutes. So once you get that one-time code, you enter it here like you see on the screen, and then click submit. Moving on to entity registration. So now you're ready to begin the business entity registration process. So to get started, you would click on this button right here where it says get started, and the red arrow is pointing to it. Now, you also going to see this screen as a new registrant, or if you haven't renewed or updated your SAM registration since last May 2023, your screen is now going to look like this. So it's basically saying before you get started, they're going to ask you a few questions. And so here are the questions. They want to ask you, you want to do business what? You want to do business directly with the federal government. You want to do business directly because you don't want to be a subcontractor, because subcontractors do not submit offers or bids to the federal government. Only prime contractors do. So you want to register your entity as a prime contractor. And then here also, you want to bid on federal procurement opportunity as the prime. Now on this screen is who required your entity to be in Sam.Gov. This was pretty simple, straightforward. I say I decided on my own, because if you use any other option, they may ask you, if you said a federal government, then they're going to ask you what federal government. So it's easier just to say you decided on your own so that you can move through this screen. The next question they ask is, what do you want to do? So if your sole purpose is to apply for grants and loans, then register for financial assistance awards only. However, if your intent is to be a subcontractor or sub-awardee, then only apply for a unique entity ID. No business entity registration is required. So just getting a UEI, it just validates that your legal business name and address is correct. But I've highlighted here or put the red arrow on review for all awards. So this presentation, we're going to focus on how to register a US-based business in SAM for all awards. That means you want to go for prime awards, you want to do grants, and you want to do loans as well. So my recommendation is not limit yourself and just say register for all awards. Now, by registering for all awards, your business will be visible to federal agencies and other government contractors that are looking for suppliers like yourself. You will be able to directly bid on federal contracts as a prime or seek federal assistance as a prime awardee, so those loans or grants. So of note, again, SAM is for federal awards. And if you're interested in just doing business at the state or local level, then you would need to register on that government's platform. So the next question, are you registering a government entity? You are not a government entity because you're a business. So you would click no, that you are your entity. You would click no and then say your entity is physically located in the United States. And then you would click the next button. Since this is your first time registering, it's going to ask, do you already have a cage code? The answer would be no, because you are a new entity. Now, a cage code is different from a UEI, the unique entity identifier. So the UEI is issued through SAM, whereas the cage code is assigned by the Defense Logistics Agency, and it's assigned almost 2 weeks after your registration is complete in SAM. So again, you would click no and then click next. This screen is verifying that you are registering a business for all awards. Again, don't limit your options, just click for all awards. So this screen is just going to alert you to additional sections that you have to complete to register your business entity. So you got to get a unique entity ID, you got to enter your core data, points of contact, assertions, and representations and search, which I will refer to as reps and search, but we are going to go through each one of these in detail. So this step right here is critical. So I have lots of arrows on here because these 4 elements must match your business name and the address that you used in your state and IRS EIN registration. For example, if you use Positive Technology Solutions for your state and EIN, do not just enter Positive Tech in SAM because it will be a mismatch and you will not be able to proceed with getting your business registered. So again, it's very critical that you use the same terminology that you've used in your state, your SAM, and IRS documentation. So with that, Marvin, I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions.
There was only one. They wanted to know what where they could find the link to the NASIX code, and I put the website in the chat.
Okay, thank you. So on this screen, you are getting ready to validate your business entity. So as indicated, you cannot use a post office box or a virtual address for your physical location. This is also where you will acknowledge that you can provide official documentation to validate your business entity. And we're going to go over some of what that official documentation that you can use to submit. So on these next 2 screens, you'll see in SAM, the one on the left, you would enter the year that you started your business. Use the drop down to select your state where you registered your business. And then you'll be asked to confirm your entity information because it'll populate. And then if that's all correct, you will enter next. Click next. Excuse me. On this screen, you want to click view the list of acceptable documents. So it will list the documents that are available for that it's authorized for you to submit for your registration. One of them being your articles of incorporation, your articles of formation, your certificate of formation, a state receipt saying that you've actually registered your business, and if there was a business license that was required for that, that's a receipt. Your IRS EIN documentation is another type. So these are just examples of required documents that you can upload to prove that you are a valid entity, business entity. Now, it says you must attach 1 or more. So let me give you a keyword of caution. You have to upload at least 3 documents. and you have to upload them one at a time. So again, although the screen says attach one or more, you really need 3 uploaded documents to advance to the next screen. If you only upload 1 document, the next button will be grayed out and you will not be able to continue validating your entity. So if you successfully uploaded your documentation, you're going to see this screen here that says, congratulations, you just submitted your business entity for validation. So at this point, you can check your registration status by going to your workspace. So here at the top right, when you go into your Sam.Gov profile, you'll see that workspace icon that you can click on. So as you can see, this business entity is in the draft stage. So right here in yellow, it says draft registration. The entity validation can take anywhere to 3 to 5 business days for them to validate that information you submitted is correct or not. So let's assume that everything checks out. The next time when you log in to SAM, your UEI will be visible within Sam.Gov. So again, we're going to assume everything checked out. So you would go to your workspace. So the way you find your workspace is you'll see this work in progress, which it will show a 1 here. And then you would click on the 3 dots that I have here in square, these 3 vertical dots. Then you would select update from the entity's action menu. So you will need to revalidate your entity again now that you have your UEI, except for this time, when you see this screen, your entity should be listed. So you would click the button that says, I recognize my entity, then click next. And when you click next, your UEI should be pre-populated on the next screen. And so from this point, you still need to complete your registration for all awards. What you've done up to this point was just validated that you were in fact a valid business entity, but now you need to complete it for all awards. I'm gonna pause right there, Marvin, before we get into the core data section.
Okay, we have one question that says, we are having issues when we submitted the lease. We are being told the lease doesn't verify that it is a physical address. What exactly is needed to be said on the lease for it to be acceptable?
So if you have a lease, say for instance, if you're not the only one in a building, say you're renting an office within a building that has multiple businesses, you would need to make sure that that's clear on your lease that your business has a dedicated office within that building. For instance, one that come to mind is Regis. Regis has a lot of locations, but within their spaces are multiple businesses. So you have to make sure that that lease clearly identifies your business only and what space you're renting from, let's say Regis or any other corporate office. Was that the question from Jennifer?
Hi, it was from Nana, but we're in the same business together. We have already like the lease identifies that. The last message that we received had stated that the address doesn't match because we had listed the exact office number, but that's where we are there. So we're a bit confused in terms of what exactly needs to be on the lease because it's clearly identifiable in terms of the address, our exact room number. It's being rejected, and we're not sure where to go from here.
Okay, what is in your irs.gov EIN? Is it the same address?
Yep, it is the same address.
What about your state registration?
Yep, the exact same address.
So on your articles of incorporation or articles of formation, it has the same address as well?
Yep, everything has the same exact address. So this is an Oasis office space. So similar to a Regis is like a co-working, so to say. Everything is the exact same on all the documents.
Okay. I tell you, after this, I'm going put my email in the chat so that you can email directly, and then I can work with you offline with this issue. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for the question.
Rosalind, we have one more now, one
Yes.
more question. Said, am I able to use a home address if I am operating out of an office in my house?
Yes. Yes, you are. I started off with a home address, and then eventually I moved to an office space. So you can use that home address as long as it's listed in your EIN, your IRS documentation, and your state.
And then on a comment here said, I previously learned that Sam rejects co-working spaces.
Like Jennifer just stated, I'm going to work with her offline to make sure that she can get through the registration for co-working spaces, because like she was saying, she uses Oasis, which is similar to Regis. But we're going to work through that. And Marvin, what I'll also do is send you information so that when you send out the recording link and other information, that you can include this as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Suzette, do you have a question? Suzette, you're still on mute if you have a question. Okay, moving right along. All right, so the first section is called core data. So this slide outlines the necessary steps to complete your registration. So core data being one, assertions, reps inserts, and then points of contacts. Unfortunately, these steps have to be completed sequentially. You cannot skip around to different sections and complete them at your leisure. You have to go in order. So up here at the top red arrow where it says core data, you have to complete all of these sequentially. And then once you've completed it, you'll see a green check mark that indicates that you have completed that applicable subsection. So I highly recommend at a minimum that you read the page description. So each of the pages have this page description in a blue box before you enter in any information, to make sure that you understand what they're asking for. Some of it may be obvious and some of it may not be. But all fields that you see on the screen are marked with the asterisk. They are mandatory. You must answer them. Now, when it comes to your fiscal year end close date, most businesses select December 31st as their fiscal year end closeout date. And then a marketing partner ID number, or MPIN, it's a 9-digit alphanumeric password that you create, and you can use this password on other authorized partners' websites, such as grants.gov. That's probably about the only time I can think of that you will need that MPN number. Okay, the physical and your mailing address that you have provided will be pre-populated on this screen. So under the TIN, which is the taxpayer ID number subsection, use the drop down to select the TIN type. So if you recall, a TIN type is either your tax ID number or it's your social security number. So if you don't remember which one you use, try both until you actually get it to take whichever information you enter. For example, if you're a single member LLC, you probably used your social security number. So just keep that in mind. So once you get that information entered, select it, save, and continue. So as I stated on the previous slide, I use my social security number as my tax ID number. So for this slide, it's asking for your most recent tax year as an individual. For example, I started my business in 2022, so my most recent tax year as an individual was 2021. So you want to enter that information, click save, and continue. For, excuse me, For TIN matching, you will get a one-time password that's emailed to your login.gov email account. It will come to your email, not text or phone call. So you want to click send the password. And once you get that password sent to your email, you need to enter it here so that you can proceed through the next SAM screenshots. So to allow time for questions at the end of this presentation, I'm not going to cover all the subsections under core data because some of them are kind of self-explanatory, such as general information, financial information. But I want to point out that on this screen where it asks for entity security level, this is asking for the entity security level of a business entity, not that of its employees. So the entity security level is actually a facility clearance level for the business, whereas the highest employee security level refers to the employees. So keep that in mind. Those are two separate things. They are not interchangeable. So this slide is a continuation of the previous one, more general information. So this subsection, it says, if you recall the note inside the red box that was about 4 slides ago that talked about your TIN or your social security number. So on this page, it's going to ask you to either select a sole proprietorship or an LLC on this general information page. So here's where you would select LLC and sole proprietor. And again, like I said, I'm a single member LLC. So I was entering my social security number. So you want to select, again, the organizational that's applicable to your business entity. So the last part of this general information subsection is on the far right side of the slide. So you want to make sure that you select your applicable social economic categories. Now, for instance, if you select that you are a veteran-owned or woman-owned business, this information will be verified with the Small Business Administration, SBA. So you want to make sure that this information is accurate and that you actually have those certifications approved by SBA, because before the government can award you a contract, you will have to be certified. So just checking the box is not good enough. You actually have to be certified to get an award from the federal government. So again, this is after you complete your core data section, it's going to go back and ask you to review all your entries. And so you must do that before you can move on to the next section, which is assertions. So I'm going to pause right there, Marvin. Any questions?
None since the let's see, wait a minute now. It says, if I am not currently a woman business certified, can I edit that into info later?
Yes, you can, once you become certified.
That was it. That was the only one.
Yep. All right. So moving on into the assertions section. This is where you will select your products and or your services that you wish to sell to the federal government. These products and services offerings are commonly referred to as your NAICS codes or your PSC codes. Again, those links are in the chat if you do not know what your NAICS and PSC codes are. But you'll need to enter those, and you can't enter multiple NAICS codes and PSC codes. So in this subsection of the assertion section, you're going to enter your annual receipts. So if you don't have any receipts to report, then enter $1, but you have to enter something so that you can advance to the next screen. You can't leave it blank, or you can't just put 0. So I've highlighted here on this page description, it says most registrants do not provide EDI information. So my recommendation again, keep it simple, and select no on this page where it says, do you wish to enter EDI information for your entity? Click no and continue. This subsection of assertions inquire whether you wish your entity to be included in the disaster response registry. So this, for instance, for FEMA national disasters, such as the hurricanes or fires that we're having, you would use the drop-down menu to select yes or no. Do you wish to be included in the disaster response registry? And do your company require bonding? So bonding refers to construction companies. So if that's your service or your product that you're into, you will need bonding for your business. So if you selected yes, you want to be included in the registry in the question above, then you can select the areas where you want to offer your products and or your services. So you can do any state, or you could just do one state. Or if you click the multiple states, then you could select which states you actually want to provide those products and or services. So on this screen, again, you will review all your information that you've included in your assertion section. And then you're going to proceed on to the next, which is representations and asserts. All right, moving on. So representations and asserts, which is commonly referred to as reps and certs, these are written guarantees made by your entity to comply with various requirements. And these are required for the conduct of business with the federal government. So to ensure I leave time for questions, I'm only going to cover FAR, which is the Federal Acquisition Regulation Response Number 1, such as what's highlighted here on the screen. This subsection refers to the person or the persons within your entity that's responsible for determining prices that are offered in your bids and proposals. So when you submit an offer to the government, they want to know who that person is that can validate that information and authorize to submit that offer or bid on behalf of the company. So you want to click on the FAR link where it says FAR Response 1. You can click on that and it will take you to the FAR to show you what exactly it is. And then I would highly recommend, if this is your first time, to click on all the links prior to entering the name and title of the individual or individuals. So if you selected an architectural or engineering NAICS code, such as 541330, which is engineering services, then complete this page. So you can use the drop-down menu to select that the vendor will provide the information with specific offers to the government as the default response. So my recommendation, again, is to just select the vendor's going to provide it later. That way it doesn't hold up your registration for SAM. So if you do not select a architecture and engineering NAICS code, the screen is still going to show up, but now it's going to say our records indicate that you have not selected one of those NAICS codes. And it's just saying, are you sure? So it just wants to make sure that you didn't overlook that. So respond accordingly. Now I want to point out the next two screens you're going to see in SAM are the defense, response, and the FAR, DFAR. And DFAR is Defense Federal Acquisition Regulation, reps and certs. And so you'll see that down here on the bottom, defense response, and review your FAR, DFARs. So it's going to ask you if you wish to bid on or currently hold DoD contracts. So you would answer as applicable. And if you click no, then the rest of the screen will be not applicable. So here's what that looks like. So you have to click through and read each of these DFAR regulations, and then check the box that says that you have read each one of them. And then once you've read each one of them, you want to click Save and Continue after you check the box. So on this screen, you want to check the appropriate box if you wish to apply for federal assistance, such as grants or loans. Click either yes or no, and then save and continue so that you can proceed to the next section in SAM, which is points of contacts. So Marvin, I will pause right there and see if there's any questions.
None since the last one.
All right. So moving into the points of contacts. So at a minimum, you're going to need to enter the full name, email address, and phone number of the accounts receivable point of contact. So you could say if this is the same individual who's the sole proprietorship, your electronic government business PLC, you can select copy from the drop-down menu, and it's going to duplicate that information so you don't have to keep entering it for your business registration. Now, just a reminder that only employees, officers, and board members can be entity administrators in SAM. So you can no longer use a third-party certifier to be your administrator in SAM. All right, so the next section is the small business certification. So if you're a small business, I highly recommend that you visit the SBA supplemental page, commonly referred to as DSBS, the Dynamic Small Business Search, to view and update your SBA profile. So down here at the bottom, it says the SBA supplemental page is currently unavailable. It's going to still say that, and it's going to say to visit SBA, but if you click that, it's not going to take you to the appropriate page. You're going to need to go to SBA Connect, and that link is in the chat. That's where you would go to update your SBA supplemental profile, which is commonly referred to as DSBS. So you can, this step can be completed. You can like pause SAM and go and complete that, or you can complete it after the fact. I recommend that you do it after you get through your SAM registration. Just remember to make sure that you get that done, because this is how the federal government and or other government contractors do their market research to find and locate small businesses. All right. All right, we are coming up to the close, submitting your registration. So on this final page, again, you're gonna have to review all your information. You're gonna make sure that it's accurate. So if everything looks good, you're gonna click Submit Registration to complete the process. Now, after you submit your registration, it could take anywhere to 10 to 15 business days for your business entity registration to be verified and activated. And then it could take another couple of days to get your cage code. But once your registration is active, you will receive a confirmation email. I highly recommend that if a lot of your email ends up in your spam or your junk, that you check it often, definitely after about 3 to 4 days, to make sure the SAM registration information doesn't end up in either your spam or your junk. Now, one thing I want to point out that I should have said at the beginning is registration in SAM is free. Registration in SAM is free, so you do not have to pay someone to register your business in SAM. You will get a lot of people coming out of the woodwork saying that they can do this for a price, but this is a free service offered by the government. So some key takeaways. Before you start, making sure that you have all of the required information and the documents readily available. Like I stated, I just put mine on my desktop so that I can upload them when I get to that section within SAM. You want to make sure that your business information that you put in SAM, the one that you use in your IRS EIN, and your state registration information, that they all match. Match addresses and also match your business name. You want to complete your entity's small business administration profile on their supplemental pages, which is commonly referred to as DSBS, because you want to do this for visibility during market research to find small businesses to do business with the government. It takes about 3 weeks for a complete business entity registration to even include a cage code assignment. So just be patient. There is a process. They have to do verification of all the information that you enter. So it could take about 3 weeks. And now you can keep your products and service offerings updated. If you add new products or services, you can come in here and update that at any time. And any other details, if you change points of contacts or add points of contacts, you can change that at any time, because you want to make sure that your SAM entity, once it's been registered and validated, that it stays active so that you're able to do business with the federal government. At a minimum, you will need to review your entity information at least once a year. I actually do mine probably once a quarter, just to make sure everything is up to date and fresh. Again, you must have an active registration. This is important because if you submit an offer to the government, your SAM registration must be current at the time of submission. So the proposal will probably say that your registration must be current at the time that you submit the offer. That's not whether or not you win the offer, but when you submit it, you're attesting that your SAM registration is active. What you don't want to do is run into an instance where you get awarded, but then it gets protested because your competitor found out that your registration was not active, so that they can protest it, perhaps ending with you losing that award. So once you have completed your registration, here's what your screen will look like. I want to say congratulations that you have successfully registered your business in Sam.Gov, and your entity is now active. Now, by doing so, you have made your business visible to federal agencies and prime contractors looking for small business suppliers. So again, thank you to Lisa and Marvin for providing this training workshop platform. Thank you all for your questions. Jennifer, I look forward to connecting with you. Here is my contact information, but also I would say connect with me on LinkedIn, because I often post workshops that I'm doing on LinkedIn. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Marvin to see if we have any other questions.
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat, but anybody have any other questions? Feel free to open your mic and ask them. Now's the time. Got a few minutes left.
Hello.
Okay,
Hello, can you hear me?
go ahead. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so when we were doing the attached documents for your business, for your legal
Yes.
entity, it won't let me go to the next step. I uploaded 3 documents, and showing all the 3 are there, or bank statements, certificate of formation, articles of formation, and it won't let me go further.
So of those 3 documents, do you have your business name and your address at least in one of those 3 documents?
Yes. So the bank statement shows my business name and address. The articles of formation shows my business name with an old address. So do I need to take that off?
Yes, because again, your registration has to match. So if your articles of formation and then let's say your bank information have 2 different addresses, it's a mismatch.
So can I only upload one, or do I have to upload? It says attach 1 or more, but when I did it just with the bank statement, it wouldn't let me go either. So that's why I was like, well, let me upload the other ones.
Now, you definitely need 3. Even though it says one or more, you need
Mhm.
3. You need 3, but you need to make sure that all that information matches. So for your articles of formation, you can update your address if that's the one that's old, and then resubmit that to your state so that they'll have your current information.
Okay. Let me double check and see if I have another one, but I'm looking at one that shows you a very old address. And then what was the other one? The certificate of corporate, where did it go? So the other one doesn't have my address on it. Let me pull it up. The registration with the state, the certificate of organization, it just has the business name on it. It doesn't have an address.
Okay, which is fine, but the articles of formation and if your bank statement have different addresses,
Okay.
need to make sure that all 3 of those have the same kind of information.
Okay, so I'll see if I can update that. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions? I guess they don't.
All right. Well, thank you
Nobody?
very much, everyone.
Oh, I think somebody just try to ask a question.
Oh,
Guess
Jennifer
not.
says she's going to email me from her personal email account. Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Jennifer.
All right, well, if no one has any other questions, I'll get a link to the recording out to you as soon as I get it processed, and some other information I'll be sending along with it. So again, thank you, Rosalind, for all the expert information, and I guess if anybody has any, they'll have your contact information if they need to shoot you an email or something. I guess that'd be okay. So with that, I guess we'll close and say hopefully, or thank you for being here, and hopefully we'll see you on some of our other webinars coming up.
Hey, Marvin, I just saw
Yeah.
one question pop up. Someone asked about nonprofits. So SAM is for-profit businesses.
Right.
So hopefully that answered that question.
Okay. All right. Well, thank everybody again for attending today, and look forward to seeing you on some of our other events. Thanks,
Yes.
Rosalind. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, Rosalind.
You're welcome.